Hi. Are you suffering from brain rot? Do you reach for your phone before brushing your teeth in the morning? Do you have a double-digit screen time? Does your anxiety spike when you don't feel your phone in your pocket? Have you found yourself scrolling for hours upon end while your room's a mess, swearing you're gonna have a productive day, just to reach the end and realize you didn't do anything? Again, do you notice yourself grabbing your phone during every slightly dull moment in life to be replaced with an infinite stream of mindless, forgettable content? Have you noticed your brain feeling slower, mushier, like your entire sensory experience is being fed to you through a filter, almost like you're there, but you're not, like you're watching yourself from the outside, slowly watching your life crumble piece by piece, like a car crash happening in slow motion that you can't stop because you're not even in control anymore, but just an observer? Well, then you may have brain rot. And don't worry, you're not alone. It's a condition that affects almost everyone around you, young and old. It can be caused by several factors, like your sleep, diet, not doing the bare minimum to take care of yourself. But first, let's focus on the big one, the thing you're using right now, the internet. Over 5 billion people use the internet daily and spend an average of over 6.5 hours looking at a screen. Punching that into the calculator means we collectively spend over 4 million years per day looking at screens. If you're 20 years old right now, over your life alone, you'll spend over 16 years combined looking at a screen. Majority of those years adding nothing to your life but rotting your brain. Because let's be honest, we can use the internet to be productive, to work, be creative, etc. But we all know the vast majority of those 4 million years is spent on, well, bullshit. Now let's define bullshit, because most people, whenever they're talking about brain rot, they're usually describing stupid memes or things they see on Twitter or X or whatever. And yes, that absolutely is. But I want to take it a step further and add in basically any content that adds nothing to your life but mindless, temporary stimulation that you forget 5 minutes later. So not only does this include stupid memes, but basically all social media, TV shows, and most movies. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with watching a little mindless content every now and then. More on that in a minute. But if you're reaching for your phone before taking care of yourself, you have a problem. And just speaking candidly, the interesting thing about brain rot is that it's a pretty new thing. The internet and social media have been around for well over a decade at this point. But only within the past couple of years do I think people are really starting to notice how bad it's getting. We're starting to notice the effects, not just within ourselves, but in other people around us, especially younger people growing up with this modern technology. Now it's not uncommon to see grown-ass adults glued to their phones while they're driving down the highway, or young kids staring at their iPads while walking around a grocery store. Even subtle things, like most of the dating market being basically digitalized, and how everybody walks with earbuds to stay constantly stimulated. And it's sad how most of this is a joke, but it's really not funny if you think about it. The fact that we're all just collectively becoming dumb and numb to the world really isn't something to joke about. Brain rot is a term that's been slowly gaining traction, and it's more of another joke to add to the brain rot. But if you're online 6 hours a day, and you're on pace to spend decades of your existence looking at flashing pixels, wasting your life, why wouldn't you take this more seriously? And when we use the most powerful tool in history to fire our brains all day watching content that we'll forget in seconds, it's going to have side effects. We have this urge to keep scrolling, hoping the next thing can make us feel something. This is brain rot. But how did we get here? How did this happen? How do we get to the point when almost every single day we'd run to these screens to look at bullshit content, knowing we want to stop, yet feeling like we can't help it? We swear we aren't addicted, yet we continue to scroll subconsciously. We swear we want to make a change in our lives, yet do nothing for ourselves, but somehow make time for our daily scrolling sessions. We want to stop, yet we continue scrolling. Why? How did we get here? Let's go over a very quick history of the internet and the evolution of brain rot. I promise it'll be quick. Here's some Subway Surfers gameplay to keep your monkey brain engaged. It's kind of interesting how this is a joke, but unironically, it will help the watch time of this video because they actually are people who can't stay focused that long. I don't know, it's just interesting. Anyways, I want to start from the very beginning because it's important to show how we work and how we got here, to show just how new all of this really is. So first, there was nothing. Then suddenly, there was something. Then 13 billion years later, monkeys popped up. Then the first humans. And there's a little bit of an argument, but the first humans roughly evolved around 300,000 years ago. This is the beginning of us, the Homo sapiens. But vast majority of those 300,000 years was spent hunting and gathering, like basically every other animal on Earth. Only around 12,000 years ago, did we start planting our own food. And while this might sound super simple, it changed the course of history, because this was the start of food storage, which made it much easier for us to survive and allowed us to grow exponentially. And over time, as it became easier, more streamlined, the game of survival became easier and easier. So easy to the point that majority of the human population could spend their time doing other things instead of hunting for food. And with all this extra free time, we're able to focus on other things and created different things like science, technology, and society, mainly making our lives more and more comfortable to the point we are now. And this happened fast, like really fast. Like, okay, so Homo sapiens have been around for the past 300,000 years. Let's shrink this time down into 1 year, and we're at the very end of this year. We didn't learn how to plant seeds until the last 2 weeks of the year. Rome wasn't built until 3 days ago. The first electrical computer came out an hour and 45 minutes ago, and TikTok came out 10 minutes ago. And Apple Vision Pro, as of the time of this video, came out 30 seconds ago. And I'm saying all this to really show that all of this is very new to our brains, but the hardware we run off of is very old. If you know anything about evolution and how slow it is, you know this isn't good. Now, we have obviously made a lot of progress as a species, from medical, technological, societal, astronomical, everything. But I really want to focus on the one that usually goes overlooked and is really becoming a problem, which is entertainment and stimulation. And I'm going to use these two words interchangeably, but they're basically going to mean the same thing. Like, they're not the same thing, but I'm going to be, you know what I mean. If there's one thing we know, it's that humans love stimulation. We need and thrive on stimulation. It's in our nature, baked into our DNA. Without some form of stimulation, you will literally go insane. Even once you get the stimulation you wanted, you'll soon want more. It's an insatiable thirst. In the past, other humans craved stimulation too, but they were able to focus on things that were actually helpful and useful to their lives, like hunting, being social, building, like improving their lives in some way. Just a few hundred years ago, if people in the past wanted to have some form of mindless stimulation or entertainment, it had to be earned. They actually had to get up, move, buy, earn it, etc., just to do something entertaining. And the things they have for stimulation back then are nothing compared to the things we have now. You could maybe skip some rocks across water, go watch a theater play or something, or learn how to play an instrument. Simple things that would be considered very boring to the things we have today. But now, because of advancements in technology, the world is too stimulating and too comfortable. If you're watching or listening to this video right now, life for you is objectively a cakewalk compared to your ancestors. You don't have to worry about finding clean food or water. And if you do, it is much easier to find than before. Also, if you do, I don't know why you'd be watching this video right now. All around this video player, you have other videos ready to keep you stimulated at any moment. And I highly doubt this is the first video you've watched today, especially not ever. You will most likely watch thousands of other videos after this one. If you get bored of YouTube, you can go to Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, anything really. And when you're done watching and scrolling, you're probably going to get hungry. So you're probably going to go out, go eat some fake delicious food shipped to your door that you're probably going to pay for with digital money that you'll never touch. You might be listening to this video on $200 earbuds that can mimic any sound and block out the world around you. You're looking at a screen made with millions of pixels that can basically show you anything. Even if you put down your phone screen, you might have a giant TV screen right in front of you playing one of the million TV shows you have available to you. Ads everywhere, ads on this video, the next video, ads between content. You can buy this thing and that thing. You can't even fill up your gas tank without getting hit with ads. And then you turn around and there's new food, new social media apps, new this, new that, new trends, new news, this political event, new video games. This person said this thing and someone did that thing. Unlimited memes, unlimited websites, unlimited this, unlimited that, everything all the time. Basically, stimulation is everywhere. We're at the point now when even if you're slightly uncomfortable, you can numb it with some form of stimulation. So much comfort surrounds us to the point that now discomfort is voluntary. And this might not sound like a problem, because what's the problem with being comfortable? Here's the problem. Remember how we said all of this is new? Like 15 minutes new? Well, yeah, you're still running off the same hardware as your ancestors because evolution is very slow. And While your monkey brain is very smart and built the world you see around you today, it sees all the stimulation the same and is always reaching for it. It doesn't care how it gets stimulation or how it affects it long term. It just wants it now. It loves to be stimulated because it thinks it's being productive. In the past, this was true. Usually, the more stimulating something was, the more it aided with our survival, like hunting, building, reproducing, building a family, whatever. But today, that's not the case. Most of our stimulation today comes with almost zero effort. And this might sound good until your brain starts rotting. All right, so we were designed to chase stimulation, but over time, because of technology, we're no longer stimulated by survival, but just being entertained and comfortable. Cool, but why is this becoming such a problem as of recently? We've had forms of entertainment for generations, not as stimulating as the things we have today, but people have been having fun forever. Why is it only now becoming such a huge problem? Why is it all of a sudden becoming dangerous and worrying? If you really want to know what happened, well, TikTok happened. TikTok is amazing, but holy shit do I hate it. I was born in the early 2000s, and I've had technology in my life basically since the beginning. I didn't grow up with really old things like Pac-Man, but I do remember having things like a PlayStation 2 and a Wii. I remember when Instagram was brown, and whenever the iPhone 4S came out, and how special it felt because it had Siri or whatever. When YouTube was its own brown app, and I used to watch Minecraft Let's Plays. And anyways, I remember the internet being fun because it was different. It was funny. It was interesting. It was informative. In my hands, I could get access to so many different things I could literally see nowhere else otherwise. People making videos on different things I'm interested in. Memes that were actually relatable to my daily life. Video games I would play with my friends that were actually fun and engaging that I would lose track of time with. Events and trends I could actually see people interacting with in real life. Like the Harlem Shake, the Cinnamon Challenge, Pokemon Go. It just felt different. And back then, my parents had access to how often I could be on these things. Nothing super strict or anything, maybe like 1 or 2 hours a day. And it felt important because it was actually limited and I never knew what I'd be able to find. And once I got my own phone, I was able to spend more and more time in this web, and things slowly changed. At first, it was really, really fun, but slowly, I didn't want to do anything else in the real world, but I'd rather stay stuck in this world. I would find myself on my phone when I'm supposed to be in bed, or running to go find my phone when I found myself without it on the toilet. Signs of an addiction forming. And at first, this addiction was subtle enough to be brushed off as whatever. It wasn't just me, but everyone else was doing this. It was normal. But over time, it was getting worse. And I noticed it as a problem, but I still continued. At first, I thought this was bad, but I have never seen anything as close to crack as TikTok. Like an app in your hand that can show you anything you like, learn from what you like, give you more of what you like, an infinite amount of times that can be accessed anytime, anywhere for free. Just think about that. That's so cool. Just for a second, just let's appreciate that. TikTok on its own is one of the most interesting things the internet has ever produced. We have invented the antidote to boredom, which is TikTok. Objectively, that is a big milestone in human history. TikTok is basically the single reason brain rot exists, or at least it was the start of it. Before TikTok, there were other apps like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you know them. But when TikTok came, it changed them all. And I remember it being a pretty cringe app. I think it was called like Musically or something like that. It just felt like an app for weird people because it was just cringy dances and just really weird stuff. But then, I don't know how, slowly everybody tried it out. And before long, every single person had TikTok downloaded on their phones. And now you see posts getting 1, 10, 20, 50 million likes. You see basically every one of your contacts has an account and tried to post at least something. And for better or worse, it has changed social media. Why exactly is TikTok so good though? There's been so many other apps, successful apps, but what makes this app any different? Well, it's this genius thing they invented called the FYP, For You page. So what exactly is this beautiful abomination? Well, when you first get on the app, it's pretty weird because it shows you the most basic mainstream things. Maybe some cat videos, dances, weird stuff, whatever. But if you give the app just like 10, 15 minutes, it starts to handpick certain things and test your engagement with it to see if it's good. Then if you like it, it remembers it, and it shows you more of it, and it can get extremely specific too. It's so smart because it's finely tuned to you. It's literally made for you. No two people's For You pages are exactly the same. On your page, you always find something catered perfectly just to you, which is really cool, but it means you're getting the perfect formula of feel-good chemicals to your brain without having to do any real work at all. You can make it about cars, dogs, politics, cooking, memes, makeup, gyms, photography, basically anything you want. And it's smart too because it knows what you like, but will only show you what you like spaced out to keep you on the app longer. Let's say you like dogs, for example. It won't show you 20 dog videos in a row, but it might show you one every 3 to 5 minutes because it knows you'll stay on the app longer to wait for the next dog video. They basically figured out the perfect formula to keep you hooked on their app, and nobody has yet to make a better algorithm than TikTok. But the problem is that now it's fucking everywhere. After seeing TikTok's success, basically every single app has this now. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, fucking Amazon now. Somehow on almost every single app, you can just tap on something and just start scrolling. And it never ends. Never ends. If you go on TikTok or any app now and just start scrolling and don't stop, just keep going and going and going, you're going to realize, one, this shit literally never ends, and you will never reach the bottom of your For You page. And two, you're really just sitting there consuming all of that day and night, over and over and over again. Hundreds, thousands of posts downloaded into your mind that you can't even remember anymore. Before the videos were interesting, they got your attention, made you laugh, think, cry, whatever, but over time, your brain gets desensitized to the same content, and it needs more stimulating content to pay attention. So the For You page gets more stimulating, and then your brain gets desensitized to that, and it needs more and more. A constant loop. That's how before monkeys were stimulated by throwing a rock into a pond, but now we need 3 monitor setups. And because TikTok made this instant, unlimited, short-form content machine, it made the feedback loop faster than ever, which is why before we could watch 30-minute YouTube videos and then 1-minute videos, and why now we need Subway Surfers gameplay with bouncing, flashing subtitles to keep someone focused on something for literally half a second. It's why memes now don't make any sense, but they still make you laugh simply because they are fast-paced and objectively just stupid. We've been training our brain for years to focus on things less and less. We're at the point now when we can't even remember what we just watched 5 swipes ago. Hours can pass and it's all just lost. The spiral has always been here, but TikTok has just cranked it up to 11. And because of that damn algorithm, everything has just become a competition of stimulation and how long you can hold someone's attention just to hold it. Now everything needs a cut, an edit, a bang, or some sound effect. It's almost painful to focus on something uncut, something that hasn't been edited to death with a million features. It's why Mr. Beast's videos do so good and how the dumbest shit gets the most attention. We will continue to scroll, swipe, watch, tweet, and consume until we look up and ask, why? For what? The reason why we like these apps is because in the past, or every now and then, we found something extremely funny, engaging, or entertaining, something more stimulating than almost anything in the real world, and we're able to find this bite of stimulation through something that required almost zero effort on our part. Your brain notices this, and it goes crazy, because it knows if it can just sit there long enough again, without any effort, it will be rewarded again. And this is true for a while, but the internet and all these things just don't hit the same anymore. Like, like whenever you were young and pizza was the most amazing thing ever because you might get like a little thin sliver once every season at a pizza party at school or something. But when you grow up and start making money, you realize that you can get it anytime, any day, every day for cheap, and it loses its appeal very fast, but it's hard for you to stop eating it because it's actually really good and really cheap, and it's instant and it feels good, and you really only feel bad the day after you did it, but you end up doing it again to remove the feeling of feeling bad, and then you find yourself eating it almost every day for a while, looking for the same feeling you had the first time you ever had pizza. That's basically TikTok and the internet, but worse. Look at all the things we consume now and how stimulating and interesting they are, just objectively. And then look at our faces and our reactions to them. If this was our first time on the internet, these things would have us on the floor holding our stomachs and entranced. You give TikTok to someone in the dark ages and they might dead ass have a heart attack. But now we barely get a hard exhale. We are that desperate for a little emotion that we will spend hours for the rest of our life looking for it. What the fuck are we doing? It's not even fun anymore. We're just looking through shit, trying to find a golden nugget, a little hit of dopamine just to continue the search, trying to stay up to date on things that don't matter in our lives at all. For what? We're not gaining anything from it. We're just there. It's not like when we find something we're looking for, it's going to change anything about our lives. We're going to look at it, feel good, then forget it. It's just empty. An infinite empty cycle of scrolling. But the one excuse we always tell ourselves before going back in is, what's wrong with a little fun? A little longer won't hurt. If you made it this far into this video, I'm going to hope your brain isn't completely fried and I can start speaking like an actual person. Brain rot is so fucking terrifying because it's literally an addiction that's so subtle, we don't even notice it as an addiction. Or worse, we are aware of it and we know it's an addiction, yet we still make excuses for the addiction. We willingly fuck ourselves over again and again for some mindless stimulation to distract ourselves from the things we know we should be doing. And some of you can probably hear my voice and be like, it's not that deep. Why is he getting so serious about this? And I'm getting serious about this because it affects our literal existence. If these things we're looking at all day are actually helpful to us, then sure, fine. But we all know it's not. We're making excuses. It's something that affects almost every one of us in some way, shape, or form. Or we all know of this addiction. We all know we gain nothing from it. Yet we continue. Whenever we were young and we see someone smoking or drinking or addicted to something, we swore that would never be us until we look down and we have the exact same addiction, just as something different. And I think it's because the effects of this aren't super apparent immediately. And since so many other people do it, most of us just brush it off as whatever, when it's actually a very serious thing. We are alive. And if you are alive, I assume you want to get the most out of this life as you can. You have things you want to do, accomplish, become, etc. Cool. But if you do want to get more out of your life, you need to focus on something for a long period of time. But before that, you need to actually sit down and figure out what you want to do with your life. And all of this takes focus and energy. You can't have your mind in 10 different places, thinking about 100 different things, and somehow expect to do anything cool with your life. Anyone that we look up to, either now or in the past, are only up there because they were immensely focused on something. They made a plan and did something different, something over a long period of time without frying their brain. And of course, you can always say, what's the problem with a little stimulation? And I agree. I'm not saying life needs to be super serious to the point when 24/7 is just a nonstop grind. But the problem is that a little stimulation is not a little fucking stimulation. It's something we are glued to for hours. Hours every day. Those hours turn into days. Those days into weeks, months, and before you know it, years. Years of stimulation, which 99.99% of it won't be remembered or useful in any way. And we swear we're learning something. We might find some educational post, maybe like once a week or something, but we all know that vast majority of the content we consume on a daily basis is empty, useless, vapid bullshit that does nothing but mess up your head. I know brainwash is usually a thing talked about for Gen Alpha or younger kids with iPads or whatever, but it affects all ages, let's be real. We've probably all seen grown-ass adults scrolling on these apps as well. Just instead of it being TikTok, it's Facebook or something, since everything is basically TikTok now. We all know that these really young kids with iPads are screwed. But what about us? What are we doing? Are we doing any better? If you've already achieved everything you've wanted in your life, or you're genuinely working hard towards it, fine. But if we're not, we're the same as the iPad kids, just a little older with more responsibilities. Arguably worse, because we know it's bad, yet continue. Because some people swear that they're only online for 15, 30 minutes a day. If you're only spending 30 minutes, hell, even an hour a day, mindlessly distracted, then cool. But that's simply not the case. Because if you count the amount of time you spend scrolling, watching, gaming, texting, reading, listening, etc., that doesn't contribute anything to what you actually want to do with your life. It can easily add up to several hours a day. Wasted. So no, it's not just a little stimulation, but more stimulation than any human in history. And like you can't just put your phone down and turn it off either. You start thinking about this stuff outside of social media. Like I remember when I used to play Call of Duty and fighting games, I would be thinking about different combos and achievements outside of the game. I remember this one game, I think it was called like the Crew 2 or something. To unlock this car, you had to be rank 1000 or something. And I spent hours daily into the night trying to get this car. I was looking up YouTube tutorials on how to level up faster, the best way to get coins or credits or whatever currency they had in the game. And I was thinking up to like 1, 2, 3 a.m. working for this fake car. And anyways, I got it and it felt good for a second. And then I looked around and I realized I didn't achieve anything at all in my real life. And I just felt empty. And I can speak for everyone, but I'm sure I can't be the only one who feels that way. Like, what is the point? What is the benefit? What exactly do we gain from this? Do we see any actual benefit to this? Or are we just all addicted? Why are we all just okay with making pure stimulation our default state of being when accomplishing real goals in real life is mostly the complete opposite of pure stimulation? What do you actually accomplish in your life when you're mindlessly distracted? Of course, right? Of course, not every second of life needs to be a full grinding or working or whatever, but how much do we fucking need? We turn every slightly dull moment into pure entertainment. We can't sit with our own thoughts for 5 minutes without looking for our phones. We put this shit above our own health and things that actually matter in our lives. Where do you think this will lead long term? How can any of this turn out good? I remember one day I was doom scrolling and I ended up on this one video of this guru guy talking about time management or whatever. And he broke it down that there's 168 hours in a week. If you sleep 8 hours a day or around 56 hours and you work another 40 hours, you still have 72 hours in your week. So why not get another full-time job and work 8 hours a week to get ahead? Now, I don't think people need to work 2 full-time jobs and work 80 hours a week or whatever. But he said this thing that really made me think. At the end, he said, how much playtime do you need? Basically, how much time do you need off from working and growing something you actually care about, especially if you're an adult? And of course, this is extreme. And there's obviously more nuances to it. Like you have less than 72 hours a week of free time. But maybe look at my life for a second and ask myself, how much time do I need to just chill, especially when I'm nowhere near where I want to be? Like, do I have to start scrolling again, as if I haven't been looking at the same things for months now? Like, okay, for example, if you're on average scrolling for a little more than 3 hours a day, you have already scrolled around 100 hours this past month. 100 hours. Why do you need more? Especially if it fries your brain, your motivation, your discipline, willpower, etc. Why do you continue? We don't think about how it affects us long term, only short term. We just want that instant feeling of relief instead of taking a long road to actually fix the problem. Instead of studying, we scroll. Instead of working out, we swipe. Instead of sleeping, we text. We ignore the big pain in our lives to temporarily numb them with colorful pixels. I hope you agree with me when I say this just isn't fun anymore. Most of the time we spend having fun isn't even fun. Most of the fun people have is spent looking at a screen doing nothing. And because all people see now is stupid stuff on social media, they become stupid themselves, especially 12-year-olds growing up now. But younger-ish people like myself in our 20s, how is it fun keeping up with politics 24/7? Comparing yourselves to other people or celebrities, keeping up with this thing or that thing, looking into the lives of other people you'll never meet and have nothing to do with you. How is that fun? Now, obviously, if you're watching a cool movie or something extremely interesting, like the video you're watching right now, cool. But TikTok, with its ability to show you a million different videos, you're not enjoying that. You didn't even want to see it. You're just feeding into an algorithm that's literally designed to keep you watching as long as possible. And now this algorithm is everywhere and it gets better and better. Now, millions of people spend most of their existence just scrolling, and the whole time, somewhere in this huge, ever-growing web, you're just there, consuming. You're not enjoying yourself. It's no longer fun. Yet you swipe just one more time. So the dark part about all of this is that it's just going to get worse and more addicting. These algorithms are going to get better. VR and AI are just not becoming a thing, and they're going to get exponentially better. The technology we have today is the worst it will ever be. As in, it will never be less addicting than it is now. It will never get any worse than it is at this second, because there's so much money in it, and people love being stimulated 24/7. If you're watching or listening this far into this video, then you might see this as a problem. But vast majority of people clearly do not. A very small percentage of people are willingly going to choose to be less stimulated. Most people don't even notice what's happening and are just going to want more. Or they see the signs that it might be a problem, but then they quickly ignore it with some more content to rot their brains. So they're going to spend more time on these apps, teach the AI algorithms more about them, to feed them more content and more content and more content and more content. Within time, this stuff is going to become so personal and so stimulating to the point that people aren't going to want to do anything outside of this. You're already starting to see signs of this. Like, I know that movies like Matrix and WALL-E are just movies, but isn't that kind of the natural conclusion to all of this? Where we just keep making these things faster and better. We don't just see things on a screen, but now it's in a room we're in. We go from vibrating phones in our hands slowly to vibrations all over our body. Instead of apps with algorithms, you'll have your own personal AI that can show you literally you can possibly think of instantly in seconds. Like, is that not where we're heading? You just know right now, people are trying to find ways to connect all of our senses to the virtual world. So far, we have sight and hearing basically down. But what happens when we get taste, smell, and touchdown? What happens when you can just pull out something, hit a button, and boom, you're in a world perfectly made for you? And not to get too science fiction or anything, but imagine we learn how to manipulate our perception of time. And a year in this perfect digital world is only a few minutes in a real world. And in this world, you are perfect. You feel no pain. You can go anywhere. You can see, touch, feel, smell, taste things you can't experience in the real world. Would you leave? How much more stimulating would that be compared to the real world? What if this world is just as tangible as the real world? Wouldn't you stay as long as you could, especially if it's objectively better, even if it isn't real? What if you're in that world right now and just forgot about your past life? What if you're 15 layers deep, a world within a world within a world, and your true ultra real world body is over 1 trillion years old by now? Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, but I think that's where we're headed. And we're going to start seeing versions of this happening much sooner than we think, which is really cool, but kind of scary if you think too much about it. It's just crazy to me how fast all this is happening. 10,000 years ago, there was basically no entertainment other than throwing rocks into a pond. 1,000 years ago, you might have had a live concert or an athletic event you can go watch. And less than 100 years ago, you had terrible video games and maybe a color TV if you were really lucky. But today, you have all of those combined times 1,000 in your pocket or in arm's reach. You don't have to look far to find stimulation. And now we're in the beginning of the AI and the VR era, and we can already predict where that's going. And this sounds good, but we're already seeing side effects of all of this. Already, young people are being less social, not wanting to do anything outside. There's been a rise in depression and anxiety, being awkward around real human beings, having the perspective of the world being shaped by fake people on fake screens, living fake lives. Young men clocking in thousands of hours into a video game while covered in Cheeto dust, while also being able to see any girl they want instantly, doing anything. Young kids being given phones at 6 years old, and so many young and old people depressed, aimless, and lost, yet they still make time to fucking scroll every day. And it's just gonna get worse. When I was young, the internet was special. I remember the internet being this huge, unexplored world when everything was new and unique and not designed just to keep me watching for another second. When I didn't feel like a product. When not every single pixel of the internet was optimized to get my attention, just to get my attention. When the internet felt like something I wanted to go on, not needed to go on. I've only been around for 23 years, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that comfort kills you slowly. There's no problem with a little comfort, obviously, but when that's all you are, there's no growth, no accomplishment, no reward, no happiness. We weren't designed to be comfortable 24/7. We weren't designed for this. So-called pleasures, when they go beyond a certain limit, are but punishments. So what the hell can we do about this? Because like we talked about before, brain rot is here and it's just going to get worse. We cannot fix this as a collective because most people do not care and will not give up scrolling. But we can fix this in our individual lives, which will hopefully motivate others to make a change as well. Probably not, but maybe. This is the boring part most people don't want to listen to, but if you already made it this far into this video, you might as well finish it. I really don't want you to keep rotting your brain. So I hope this next part is helpful to you in some way. I can't speak for everyone, but this is how I fixed my own brain rot, or at least made it a lot better. And spoiler alert, it's just the obvious stuff. But I also want to add a little bit more to it. So a few months ago, I had a genuine fear I was developing Alzheimer's because I would be talking to my girlfriend and then forget entirely what we're talking about just 5 seconds later. And it's normal to forget some things sometimes, but this was actually really bad. My room was also a mess and I couldn't focus on anything. And I just felt this fog all the time. And then I realized, oh, it's because I'm on TikTok 2 to 3 hours a day and then I'm jumping to bullshit YouTube videos and I'm not doing anything I know I should be doing. I wasn't eating right, my sleep schedule was terrible again, and hadn't been to the gym in like 3 weeks. I gained a lot of weight too, so no shit, this was happening to me. And then I found the secret solution to all of this. I deleted TikTok and I started doing the things I know I should be doing, and now my memory and focus is back. Surprise, surprise. I always just try to remember that if I eat right, sleep right, work out, and probably the biggest thing, get off my phone, that's 90% of the problem and will always get me back on the right track. Here's the problem. It's really simple. Almost too simple. Basically anyone could have guessed the solution, but nobody does it. Why? And once again, I can't tell you exactly why other people don't do X, Y, and Z, but I'll try to explain my little theory I've noticed within myself. It's because it doesn't seem like it does anything. If I do eat right, so what? I don't notice it instantly. It might not taste the best. It might take more time to prepare. Like, what's the point? If I do sleep right, so what? Like, we're going to wake up tired the next day regardless. If we do go work out, we look the same the next day, but now we're just sore. So what's the point? If I do get off my phone and go pick up a book, cool. I didn't make any money. I didn't change anything about my life, so what the hell is the point? And I kept asking myself those things until I realized the point. The point of doing these things is that it allows you to focus. And when you're able to focus and really think about your life, your problems, whatever, you get shit done. Brain rot, brain fog, or whatever term you want to use is simply literally what happens when your brain can't focus on what's important in life because it's focused on other things that don't matter and are just instant, stupid, and stimulating. And when you live your entire life like that, it becomes hollow. Focusing on something that's actually beneficial to your life, like school, work, business, is usually unstimulating and boring, at least for a majority of the process. And your monkey brain just wants maximum stimulation, so it's always going to default towards the more stimulating option. And because you can access unlimited, instant, algorithmic stimulating content anywhere we look, most people just stay locked in there, rotting their brains. So if you want to fix your brain rot, or at least this is what worked for me, you need to actually do the obvious thing, which is getting off your phone. But for most people, that's not going to cut it. You've heard that before, so I'll try to get really tactical with you. The problem, at least that I had, is that when I remove the time I spend online, there's this void, right? This empty block of time or boredom that opens up that needs to be replaced by something. You can't just leave it open. So when I first started doing this, I realized I got extremely bored. And when I get bored, instead of turning back to my phone, which happens a lot, I simply try to do something else I know I should be doing, but actually just doing it. And that's the really hard part, shifting the train onto the right track. But once you do that, it starts to move on its own, and it's much more easier to keep going. And honestly, it takes maybe 2 to 3 weeks of actually trying to make a change, and then it just becomes automatic. But even then, it will fall off again, and you'll have to force it back into place. Like I said, it's a constant battle, and it will be until the day we die. And if that's still not going to cut it, and you still want to rot your brain, here's the final thing I always remind myself. Memento mori. I am going to die. I don't have forever to exist. Neither do you. But right now, literally right now, you have the ability to experience things no other thing in the history of the universe will ever be able to experience. You have all the potential in the world at your fingertips. The screen that can take away your life also has the ability to build your life. So use it. If you are going to be online 24/7, produce something instead of consuming it. Do something with it. Use it to create, learn, become something. And I get it. It can be boring as shit, but what's the alternative? TikTok, social media, stupid YouTube videos, they're always going to be there. Always. But the chance for you to build something meaningful with your life is not. And despite how it feels, you don't need a 10-hour screen time to function. Every other human ever lived a full life without it. You'll be fine. I'm not even saying you have to completely get rid of it. Hell, I still use the internet for bullshit, but at least I'm trying to do something with it. And I can tell you firsthand, it's much more fun this way. And sure, it can get boring as hell when you're in the process of creating something. But the feelings you get as it starts coming together and you start approaching the end, knowing you made it, is something scrolling can never give you. Life is quite beautiful when you build something that you can call your own. All right, I feel like I'm yapping now. So in conclusion, brain rot is bad. It's going to get worse, but not for you. Get off your phone. Get the most out of your existence. Please. Por favor. Adios. Bye. Subscribe. Bye.